Maybe we do so. Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. This is our twice-a-year event where we try and do speed dating between potential honours students and advisors in Search School of Biology. We run, I think we have a very well-managed honours program, thanks to Stefan and Marcel and other Gil, other conveners. And the research year, for those of you who haven't thought about it before, is really crucial as a taster for what independent research truly looks like. And whereas in undergraduate years, you're doing perhaps some small investigations or projects within individual classes or 3208. Once you get into your honours, then you're really solving research problems yourself with increasing independence from your supervisor. So it's a way to sort of get into the whole spirit and joy of doing research. Now, it has been the case in the last 2 years that it's been more challenging than usual with COVID restrictions and so forth, and the school does everything it can to ensure that students are not disadvantaged if we have unexpected issues such as the recent lockdown in Canberra. So I think the level of care given to our students is very good. So it's not without risk, but life is a risk. And I think so long as you go into an honours program with the potential to be flexible and understand that you're assessed not on the results you obtained, but on the way you approached it and the way you interpret what you are able to get, then the risk for severe disruption in COVID or whatever is somewhat less. Now, of course, we all hope that going into next year is what this is about. Everyone will be vaccinated and the world will be a rosy place. So good luck with that. So at this point, I'll turn it back to Stefan and let you.
Okay, thanks. So on the rosy note, I share my screen here with you. And go to presentation mode and also get the, no, just want to get the chat up in case there's people asking questions in between. All right, so welcome everybody, in particular the third-year students, to join this event about our honors program. And down here we have the contact details, and with the email you received for this event, there was an information flyer attached to that that contains about the same information that I will be providing here. So most of the information is already available, and in addition I will record this event here, so and we will put a link up so that if you were missing this event, then there's opportunity to catch up with all the information. So this is information about for two things. It is our biology honors program and the master's research project, which we run concurrently, although they have slightly different demands and ways how they're being assessed, but by and large they're both research projects that take a couple of months to complete, and therefore we run them in parallel. Oops, why is this not up? Okay, yeah, so this is sort of the information flyer that you already got with this email. So that contains most of the information and also the links. I think I updated all the links as much as possible, and I also had these the projects being updated by group leaders. So hopefully this is all up to date. All right, you already met our director, Craig. He said a couple of words to begin with, and that sort of brings me to our school. I think most of you, if you're biology students, you already have an idea about the school and its strengths because you have gone through a number of undergraduate courses in those 3 years, and you have met a few members of the school, and depending on your your likings and preferences, you probably would be identifying with some of our divisions. So the 3 divisions we have in this school is the biomedical science and biochemistry division, which is sort of, as the name suggests, mostly biomedical research. And there's sub-themes within this group, which are listed here. The main ones are infection and immunity, membrane transporters and channels, and parasitology. Then we have a division of ecology and evolution. Again, sub-themes here as well, like behavioral, evolutionary, and physiological ecology, bioinformatics and biomathematical modeling, evolutionary genetics and genomics, phylogenetics, population genetics, and biodiversity. Then we have a division of plant science, and again, with different areas of strengths and subdivisions working on photosynthesis and plant energy biology, plant environmental biology and functional ecology, plant genetics and gene regulation, and plant microbe interactions. The school has also a unit that goes beyond all the divisions. It is the computation biology and bioinformatics unit, and because this, of course, has links to all the 3 divisions, it's sort of a unit that is sort of sits separate from the structure of the 3 divisions, but any student would go through one of sort of those divisions as an honor student. So now the question for you is, of course, when you're now in 3rd year, I'm sure you already have chosen the courses in a way that you think fit your research interest, and you can see sort of how your courses that you're doing align with the research strengths of the school. And that then sort of is then the next step for you to think about what kind of research might be appealing to you. What we can offer in RSB, apart of course from the intellectual environment in the different groups, is a very good infrastructure. So we have newly refurbished labs, offices, and seminar rooms, and we have nice breakout areas, tea room, and in both the Linnaeus building, which is and the older Robertson building, both of them are being connected. And we have a number of central facilities that support our research. So we are, for example, we house the Australian Plant Phenomics facility that offers a number of services and infrastructure for plant research. We have expensive RSB plant services, particularly of greenhouses, controlled environment facility. We have the ecogenomics and bioinformatics lab that provides training and help with data analysis. And we have extensive science facilities and field sites. So we have, for example, the Australian Mountain Research Facility for alpine research. We have the ANU North Australia Research Unit. We have the Joint Mass Spectroscopy Facility and the National Computational Infrastructure, all to which we have access, and projects will use these facilities to vary to different amounts, depending on your research area and research strengths and what your supervisor has as projects. So as you can see, we have a very expensive and sophisticated infrastructure, and that allows us really to do world-class research in honors projects as they go along. So how does the honors project looks like, or the honors program? As I say, this applies to both the RSB honors project and the master's research program. They're both organized in a similar way. So they're almost a year long, and you spend doing full-time research on a project for 39 weeks. So this is really considered like 2 full courses. You will be guided by a supervisor and maybe a co-supervisor, depending on how the group is organized. Initially, you will submit a research plan, and we call it a grant proposal because it has some similarity to what we do when we write grant applications and ask for money for our research. We give a summary of the project that we want to do, and then hopefully the government agencies will give us money for our research. So this is part of your training as well, that you will write a small proposal what you want to do, and basically say, this is what I want to do, and this is sort of the framework in which I want to work, and then this is assessed as an item of the honors program, And then from there on, once you have sort of that introduction to your topic, then you will actually go into the real research, and then you will present the research, the findings in a thesis at the end of the year. In between, there's sort of seminars. So you present a seminar at the beginning, you present a seminar at the end, and you meet with your examiners panel 3 times during the thesis. So you meet once early on after your research proposal, after you sort of have at least sort of your theoretical ideas about your projects. Then you meet halfway through, and then you meet again at the end once you have written the thesis. Yeah, so this is here sort of shown here. Sort of the grant proposal is worth 15% of the total marks. Then the midterm report is sort of halfway through, and then the thesis by itself is the major component of the assessment, worth 85% of the total mark. There are the seminars, one in the beginning and one at the end. They're sort of each 15-minute seminars that will give you, they will both be for your own benefit in terms of presentation skills, but there's also for the benefit of your examiners to see what your project is about and how much progress you really have made from the beginning, where you sort of had your ideas, what you want to do, and then to the seminar at the end of your honors project, where you then sort of show what data you have gathered in the project, and then sort of you can see and compare to how well the plan went. And there's sort of the examiners meeting that I alluded to before. So there's again 3 of them in the beginning, right after your first seminar and after your grant proposal. And the examiners will also assess your grant proposal, then the second examiners meeting after your midterm report, and then the final examiners meeting at the end of your thesis, at the end of October, when the thesis is assessed. And typically, I think everybody has 3 examiners, but they're not only examining you, they're also giving you help with the project and advice. And in particular, they point you towards things that they would like to see in the thesis. And we have, of course, assessment criteria for the honors thesis. So they will give you guidance and say, oh yeah, we need to see some more on statistical analysis, or we would like to see some other figures, some nicer figures to show, to give us some background ideas, etc., etc. So the examiners will be following your project all along and will be helpful in giving advice and getting you through this project. Let's see, okay. All right, so what are the prerequisites for the program? Obviously, you are in your 3rd year, so you need a completion of a 3rd year undergraduate degree. And for the honors program, you need at least a 70% average score for 6 second year or 3rd year level courses that are relevant to your proposed research area. And we are fairly broad in that assessment, so these don't have to be biology courses. For example, if you do something that has more mathematical underpinning, then you may have a mathematics course in there, or you have some other course from other areas in there. They could, as long as they're sort of relevant to your honors project, we can count them toward your average. And of course, you need an agreement with a potential supervisor to do the project in their lab. And this is, of course, something where we'll come to in a moment. So now the question is, you have done your 3-year undergraduate degree, and of course that gives you a bachelor degree. But the question is, should I do another project, another full year project as part of my undergraduate degree? And I think Craig will agree with me and all that the honors project is a very valuable experience. And Craig mentioned in the beginning that it is sort of a real research project. So it does give you quite a bit of extra experience that you don't have as an undergraduate student, and the experience is quite different. So I will allude a bit more on that in a moment. So in your project, you really become an expert in your chosen topic of research, and you will read the same literature that we read to keep up with our research activity, to follow the most recent developments in your area. So you will be at the forefront of research in your chosen topic. And this is, of course, quite a different experience from undergraduate, where you have perhaps some set experiments or some form of assessment that has sort of been run through over the many, many years, and it's sort of more routine exercise, whereas this is research, so it's far more unpredictable, but it's also far more novel and really gives new insight that we haven't had before. It is, of course, a pathway to a PhD and a career in research, but it's also a pathway to many other walks of life. So we have many of our honors and PhD students not necessarily doing then research and sciences. They may be working in many other walks of life and always find it a very helpful experience. And on reflection, almost all find that it was an enjoyable experience, although it can be a bit stressful and challenging at times, and we don't deny that. But again, that's sort of real life, that sometimes there's challenges, but you will notice that all your supervisors and examiners try the best to help you through the challenges, because we all want you to succeed, and therefore we will help you all the way. And now coming sort of back to the second part, sort of on the one hand, of course, it is a pathway to a PhD and a career in research, but the skills you learn in honors go far beyond than just research skill. And I've often written references for employers, for the students of mine, and the questions we get are always the same. For example, how good is your student or how good is your researcher at time management skills and teamwork, which is very important these days. And you may have noticed the photos we had underneath the presentation in the beginning were mostly teams sitting together and talking together. So we do a lot of teamwork. It's it's almost unheard of these days that you're sort of doing your project all alone, sitting alone. Most of the time you're embedded in a team and work together with them. And that is one skill that is very important these days for any employer. The same with time management. People want to know that you can organize your time and can organize it yourself. Not, for example, as an undergraduate student, you are mostly organized by us. So we set you dates for assessments, we set you dates for this and dates for that. Whereas in an honors, you have a framework of dates by which you have to have completed the research, but typically in between, you have to organize yourself and have to, on Monday I have to do this, on Tuesday I have to do this. Otherwise, I can't get my experiment done in this week. You will learn a lot of skills in terms of data analysis, statistical and organizational skills, far beyond what you do in undergraduate. You will learn a lot about scientific writing and presentation. As you just heard, we have a research proposal at the beginning, which is a writing exercise, and then of course the thesis at the very end of it, which is quite a significant writing exercise. And you give 2 seminars at the beginning and at the end, and again, that will sort of improve your presentation skills, and you get feedback on these, for example, from your groups. They will rehearse these talks with you. So you get instant feedback what things do work and what things don't work. Critical thinking, problem solving, and scientific literacy is of course core to an honors project. So problem solving is almost, one of the core activities of any honors project, because difficulties will arise and they need to be solved. And that gives you a lot of training again in sort of, that is very different from your undergraduate degree, where, for example, laboratory experiments were well tested before you had to do them. But now you would do really experiments that are new and not done by anyone before, and therefore there will be problems arising, and these can then be solved together with your supervisors. You will of course learn a lot of technical skills, and they are of course quite discipline specific. But again, I think it is very important sort of to learn dexterity in any way, and therefore this is also generic skills. Plus computational skills. We have now a lot of courses that support you in terms of computational skills, particularly with new software packages like R, that now almost all of our students are using on a regular basis. So again, we support you there to increase your computational skills. All right, brings me now to the next point. How do you find a supervisor? So obviously we have already supervisors attending this event, so you can link up with them and talk to them a bit later if you want to. We are here to talk about projects. Then, of course, we have the list of projects available in the handout that we sent along. And there's, of course, also an honors page on the RSB website where you can look at the different projects. And most importantly, I show you in a moment sort of the research summaries of RSB labs. So this is the link here. And we have also let me see whether this link works or whether we can then jump out of the, can you still see that? Is that still sharing or did it jump away? No, still sharing. So this is, you can go to this website here and then look through these projects. So here's the different groups that you can look at the different research areas. So if you go to the groups, then you have all. Yes?
We're still seeing your PowerPoint, not the...
Oh, you're still seeing my PowerPoint. Okay, sorry. We do, yeah, that it didn't just let me do that. So you're still seeing this one here. Sorry. Let me see whether I can show you that. I guess I have to stop sharing for a second and then share again. So this would be the website you would be looking at. So there's either, it's grouped in different ways. For example, it's grouped within divisions, but you can also just go to all the groups here as an example, and then you can browse through and see what kind of project. So these are alphabetically ordered here, or you go through the divisions and then find the research project this way. So this is then already sort of pre-sorting. But again, there's overlap between these divisions, but some of the supervisors are actually listed in two divisions. So I think between these web pages, I'm sure you can find sufficient information to look for what kind of research project may be suitable for you. So I just stop sharing again and go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, set back to the PowerPoint. All right, so then the best way probably is, apart from the fact that you can sort of talk to a supervisor right here and now after this presentation, the easiest is just to write an email to a lab leader and express your interest. Perhaps you already have an idea what you like to do. And then you can, of course, in the moment, of course, we're all in lockdown, you would have to meet by Zoom in the moment. But you may already have an interest in a particular research areas, and then you can see sort of what the supervisor thinks about that project, whether it links with something they're already doing. Of course, all our research projects these days are quite costly, and you have to be aware that supervisors may not be able to exactly allow you to do a project that you are suggesting, but they would probably suggest, oh, you know, are we doing something similar in this area? Because of course we have to fund these projects, and therefore we have certain restrictions on what kind of projects we can supervise and do in our laboratory. And but of course, all the projects that you would find on the web pages, they are current projects in each lab, and they should be available. You can, of course, talk to other members of the lab if you know them. This, of course, I know in the moment this is a bit difficult. It's much easier when we are there in person and the labs are running. You can talk to the other members of the lab. This is sort of unfortunately something that is not available in the moment, but hopefully, you know, as we go along towards the end of the year, restrictions will ease, and then perhaps we can again have sort of face-to-face possibility to talk about projects. Applications close at on December 15th. I'm not sure whether that is the correct date also for this year, but normally that is the date, thereabouts the date when the honors applications have to be in. So it's a good time to start looking around, and of course you should talk to, or you can talk to several group leaders and see what kind of projects they offer. In the end, of course, the choice is yours, and I think most group leaders would be quite happy to host honor students. But of course, there's sort of, it's many students, many group leaders, for example, say, "Oh, I'm not hosting more than one student or perhaps two students," because it is also quite a big commitment for the group leader. So there will be limitations in terms of how many projects are available. A bit about the workload in honors, because that's the question that is often asked. So it is like a full course, the honors year, and like we say here on the presentation, it's not necessarily 9 to 5. This doesn't mean that you should exhaust yourself in the project, and we don't expect that. We expect a normal workload, but it could be that on occasion an experiment runs late, and let's say you are in the lab until 9 in the evening, but then of course you may or not come in before lunch the next day because you said, well, I worked late the last day. But what we're saying is that sometimes these projects require flexibility, that you cannot just say, okay, I strictly work from 9 to 5, and this is what I'm doing. The experimental framework sometimes doesn't allow quite that, but we think that the workload is a normal workload in the laboratory, and all projects should have a normal workload. So that, and if that is not the case, then of course this needs to be addressed between the supervisor and the student, and there's sort of actually we sign off on a statement of expectations between the student and the supervisor, so that there's clear expectations on both sides, and you can rely on that document and refer to that document. So this is what comes here: discuss your work needs with your potential supervisor. And this is why you sign at milestone 1 this candidate as supervisor agreement. So as a rule of thumb, quite some students work, not all students work outside. Some students do, and so the rule of thumb here is 12 hours per week of outside work is a lot. Because particularly there's phases in your honor thesis where you need to, particularly the thesis writing phase is pretty much a full-time activity. So there is limits to how much outside work you really can do while doing honors. But I know there's financial constraints for some of you, and I had honor students myself that were working on the weekend. But we also have sort of tutoring often available, or sometimes demonstrating possibilities. So there might be possibilities of jobs that are actually quite well paid in terms of their hourly remuneration. More on financial support. Are there scholarships available? This is sort of something, there were still emails flying back and forth this morning about scholarships. Some of them were, so we had 2 centers of excellence that were offering fellowships. So these centers have come to an end, but I just heard this morning that there will be, at least on a smaller scale, scholarships available. So watch this space. This is not sort of completed. There will be scholarships available for students. And Craig, again, this morning in an email said he's thinking about a small token of support from the school to honor students, just again, sort of because Canberra is an expensive living environment. So we are thinking about cost impacts. And if you're not living at home and have sort of to pay the full costs and rent and everything, then we will make an effort sort of to support your studies also with scholarship or other financial support. So again, inquire as you go along. One more thing, sort of, you now have done 3 years of undergraduate, and as I say, so far the research opportunities were limited. Sort of, is there a possibility to get a bit of more experience? We do offer summer research internships. I think, Craig, is that correct, that we also offering them this year? Yeah, Craig is nodding. And again, this is something where there will be a list where you can look sort of what kind of supervisors are offering summer research internships. And this is sort of a program over the summer, starting in November, going then into January. And this is where you get, if you are successful in this, you're getting a $350 weekly allowance for the 9-week program. And again, there's sort of joint activities for all the students who participate in the summer research internships with social events, workshops, and seminars over the summer period. And also you get sort of a small publication out of this activity that you may want to put on your CV. So again, that's sort of something that RSP offers on top of the standard undergraduate degree, particularly for students who would like to continue into honors and PhD and would perhaps have want to get some experience in research. Okay, so I'm coming to the...
Stefan, if I can just...
Yes.
Stefan, can I just break on that for a second? So I've just put up on chat for any students who are interested, the link to the RSP summer program this year. We're limiting it to ACT residents for obvious reasons. We can't guarantee people can get here from elsewhere, but we will be running it this semester. And I think a lot of academics have had really good experiences of students who've come in, done these summer scholarships. You get to look at us, we get to look at the students, and often that ends up in a very good place for all concerned. I encourage potential honours students to take a look.
Yeah, no, I can only agree with that. The summer research internship is a good opportunity to get to know a group a little bit better and see whether that would suit your also then later for a bigger honors project or PhD.
Just to interrupt quickly, Stefan, the application time is actually closed, but if students apply by Monday next week, I'm pretty sure we'll still be able to consider them.
Okay. All right, so this is then the website. This is of course through the ANU website. This is the application where you do it for the academic year 2022, Bachelor of Science honors. It gives you all the technical information about the program, and this is sort of the way. And it's, as I say, applications are due by December 15th. Okay, so if you need some more help, RSP of course has also a very capable student admin team, and they will be all quite happy to help you. You can use the email rsp.studentadmin@anu.edu.au to inquire if you need any help with applying for the honors programs or any other questions you have. All right, that brings me to the end of this presentation. So we would be quite happy to take any questions from you if there are any arising. Let me just stop sharing and we can see each other. Yes, Georgia. Please unmute your microphone.
Hi. I was just wondering, what do you think is like the biggest or like a very common problem honors students have when completing their honors?
I would say these can be very individual. It is very hard to say, is there a common problem? I mean, a common problem is, of course, there are always scientific problems, and this is something that is part of honors. I wouldn't consider it even a problem. I would say this is part of doing science. You are solving problems. There will be challenges in the process, being it technical or conceptual, and you need to overcome this, as I say, but I wouldn't consider that sort of a problem. This is just part of doing science. So there's nothing that, I mean, for example, there can be the honor students this year, as Craig briefly alluded to, we had a big problems with the lockdown. Of course, you're in your experimental program, you get into a lockdown, we have to find a solution to that problem as well. And this is something new that, of course, we never had before. But again, we have found problems. We have solutions to all of these problems. We had to rejig some projects. Hopefully that will not happen in 2022. Hopefully we'll be all vaccinated by then, and we will hopefully run as smoothly honors programs. But yeah, there's individual problems. Sometimes we have, students have personal problems within the family, things like that. death of relatives, things like so. All these things can of course happen, and we have provisions for those. We have you know, you can apply for extensions in the program, but I'm not aware of anything that typically occurs as a problem during an honors project. Any other questions? Well, it doesn't seem to be the case. Craig, do you want to say some final words, or before we close the event?
Oh, I think you covered the ground very well, Stefan. So I just wish everyone good luck in finishing up their undergraduate program, and we'd love to see you back here with us as honours students.
All right, then I close as well. Thank you very much. I'm stopping the recording, and then I will close the meeting for everyone.